This is FCTV, fan-controlled television. Programs created and produced for the fans, by the fans, of fan-controlled sports and entertainment. As always, power to the fans. And now, it's time for the show!
Oh, no.
You better believe it is. You check your wallet and your spectacles and your watch and the thing that goes in between all of those, because we're back, baby.
Put one hand over your mouth and the other on top of your head and just try to have fun. I don't know what that means.
I don't know either. We made it out of internet debacle 2024 where I had, if my camera and internet was working where I was house sitting, you would have seen me having an absolute meltdown, but you didn't. And we had to call the show like 5 minutes into it because I sounded like a robot. And then I was off last week on vacation, but now we're back and we're loving life. Hi, I'm Kenny Stevenson.
Hi, I'm Alex Enriquez, fully aware of the irony that usually anything involving robots makes our hearts go pitter-pat as a couple of nerds, but this was not. This was the dystopian version.
Yeah, this was like you know, well, we're gonna talk a little bit about Terminator in a second, but like, you know, this is like the Terminator 2 ends, and then if we kept going, all the things that you keep making with the Terminator, that's what that felt like. It was like cool at first because it was a robot, and then it was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. What is this? Welcome to Fan Control Fandom. Hi, this is all things in the cape space. This is people wearing capes doing stuff, people doing flip-floppity with their laser swords, people flying over dragons. I've started watching House of the Dragon season 2. And, you know, superheroes. We got some big superheroes. We're going to have an absolute cavalcade of superheroes coming aboard next week, but we got to talk about the finale of the Acolyte. Let's go.
Baby.
Let's go. BC Lion says, hello, lads. He was an acolyte. Shout out from West Vancouver, BC, Canada. BC Lions are just atop the Western Conference of the Canadian Football League, and this isn't even a sports one piece of sports news. It's not.
Can I ask you a quick question about the Canadian Football League? And
please.
Is their conference system all screwed up whereby, like, you know, a city like Kansas City is somehow in the West or something like that?
No, it's pretty well delineated because it's, yeah. But the problem is that there are more teams in the West than are in the East. There's only like 4. It's like Ottawa, Hamilton, Toronto, and one more, Montreal, are in the East. But then the West is BC, Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Saskatchewan, and those are all Western. Those are legitimately Western teams. So yeah, I mean, you can maybe make an argument about Winnipeg, but whatever. I mean, we got to put one more team in the East. We got to put a team in the Atlantics. Or there's talk about Quebec City, maybe.
How about we get some love for the Maritimes, huh? Something up in the.
Give some shout outs to the Maritimes, please.
Yeah, that's what I think.
You know what? And this ends Maritime Corner, and this starts Quick Hits. Quick Hits.
Oh, baby, it's good to be back.
It is. It's so good to be back. It's the quick pieces of nerd news, and I've scaled this back, baby, because this show needs to not be an hour and 45 minutes anymore. But
we finally decided that not for you, the audience, but for us.
Nope. 70 episodes in. No, legitimately, my daughter is doing Shakespeare camp this week, and she has a show at 2 p.m. PST, so I got to wrap this thing up so I can eat some food and get there and watch my kid perform the bard's beautiful language. Beautiful.
This is going to be a hot take here, but I, for one, think that of all of the things that the English canon might offer you, I think that having a familiarity with Shakespeare and a command of Shakespeare is one of the more useful things you can kind of interact with in that space.
Indeed, and we're going to see how that goes. But the big news coming up, we actually have a lot of hope you're well, Ruthless Cutie. We had no idea you were sick. Hope you're doing well. So everyone's getting sick again. The big news, obviously Avengers 5 and 6, these are what's his face, Benedict Cumberbatch was just talking about how, like, I can't wait to start shooting Avengers 5 next year. It still doesn't have a director, but it might not just have one director, it might have two. And to quote the last good movie that these two men directed, they are inevitable. The Russo brothers are in talks to direct Avengers 5 and 6, coming home to the house that Michael Mouse built.
Old Michael. Here, you know what I find is that people are entering these big franchises, and then they go, and now we're going to springboard into something else. And then they go out and they're like, none of this is as cool, good, fun, or as profitable as drinking old Michael Mouse's milks right from the source. You got to get there.
It's crazy because the Russo brothers, the first thing they directed was a movie called Cherry, starring, their favorite Spider-Man, Tom Holland, that went to Apple Plus. That was a small Sundance film. Then they made a huge Netflix movie with Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling called The Gray Man, which was decent. And then they made something. I think those are the two things they've directed, but they produced some things that were kind of like
29 Bridges or whatever with Chadwick Boseman. I think produced.
That was before the Avengers, but yeah. So some of their stuff, as the kids would say, are a bit mid. So, they get the call, and we need someone to direct this movie that is rumored to have 60 people in it.
Well, I think that
who can do that? These guys.
It's an example of Hollywood absolutely not getting it, because to my thinking, these guys come out of Community. They come out of like directing episodes of Community where they show this huge facility with like comedy and action, bigger ideas, higher mind stuff or whatever. And that's why they work in Marvel, because they can kind of balance all these different shifting tones. But they get out there in the world, and the world doesn't understand them. They go, oh, you do action? Cool, action. And then it's like, well, their special sauce maybe doesn't get to show through, higher concept-y stuff. I don't know. Team them up with Dan Harmon for another shot at something.
Well, Michael Waldron has been tinkering with these scripts, so Michael
I heard he's
Waldron.
Off.
Yeah, I know but he did some writing on these. So I mean, I think what this is kind of lining up with what's happening next week, when this movie that Marvel is going to be the first movie they put out since the Marvels. The only movie they're putting out this year is going to make like, I don't know, $75 gajillion. And they're going to be like, okay, we're riding high, baby. How do we keep this thing going? Well, let's bring in old tried and true. Let's bring Phil Jackson back to coach the Lakers, and that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's pardon me while I keep adjusting myself for the whole thing.
It's okay. It's fine.
It's all like, this is all kind of riding with the rumors of Chris Evans coming back as Captain America, and Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Iron Man, and
all of those things are happening.
And it's like, yeah, this was inevitable. Because they're drawing so much, specifically the MCU. But I think this is going to be something that happens more and more in the IP space. But drawing from comics, it's like you're already in a fantasy world, so everything's real till it isn't. And people die and come back, and Superman died, came back. Batman was broken in half and then came back. Like
broke his back. It literally broke his back, and then somehow climbed out of a giant like circle with people screaming at him.
It's even beyond what may happen, to boost profits that you might do with the characters in your universe, even creators. If you follow comics long enough, you find these people who are emblematic of one of the big publishers suddenly leave that publisher, go to the other, and it's this huge piece of news, much like James Gunn leaving the MCU to helm DC. So it's all going to keep kind of feeding on itself in this expected pattern, as long as the media it's drawing from is the same.
Yeah, I just hope that them returning is more akin to hiring them from Civil War to do the Avengers movies, as opposed to bringing Pete Jackson back to make the Hobbit films. Like, though, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
those were like big old. I mean, I wouldn't say big whiffs, but I think the big whiff was that, you know what we can do with this, 90-page leaflet is turn it into 3 movies. Like that
Right.
was the mistake.
But
But I just
if
hope that they don't like overstay their welcome.
if that series of Hobbit movies had been helmed by a series of different directors to
touche.
various results, and Peter Jackson comes back, that's more this play. They
Touche. Well
this
said.
big return out there is like, it's just, hey, and it's just enough to keep a certain level of fan talking about it online. It's a good marketing thing. I'm excited. I hope they do it. I hope it's a blast.
This is kind of comforting, just in terms of like scope, scale, what these guys can do, what they do with the lore, all the blah 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 blah. So we didn't do a show last week, and Marvel dropped 2 trailers on a show that we couldn't do. So guess what? We're going to talk about them this week.
We have to.
We got a trailer for Agatha All Along, which is going to be the new Agatha Harkness show with Catherine Hahn and Patti LuPone and Audrey Plaza and the mom from that 70s, 80s, and 90s show. I mean, just a cavalcade of stars.
Deborah Jo Rupp.
Yes, there you go, Deborah Jo Rupp. And then we got a Captain America Brave New World trailer.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, great stuff here. I just want to talk quickly about the Agatha All Along. I was genuinely shocked that within like second 5, they just were like, everything that happened to her in the end of WandaVision, yeah, we just fixed that real quick. Like, it just, like, there was like no tension. That was my whole thing. It was like, is she going to be like, not know that she used to be a witch because her mind was wiped, and is that going to be a whole episode? Like, literally, like within 2 seconds of the trailer, they're like, oh yeah, we'll fix it. Damn, you got it all back. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, why not? What else are they going to do? Build from scratch? No, it's all magic. Googly moogly,
This is literally magic because they're witches.
I also like right off the bat in the Mayor of Easttown pastiche, the dude going Wooder. Oh, she's down there by the Wooder.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah, there was a lot of great stuff. Audrey Plaza.
Aubrey.
Did I say Audrey? Right. Thank you.
You said Audrey twice.
I know. Aubrey is my spirit animal, says Ruthless Cutie. No cultural appropriation intended. Yeah, just say she's your. You know what I learned? You know what I had heard somebody say spirit patron, my patronus. But then if you say patronus, you're now giving shout outs to JK, who is another troll. So it's like, I don't know what to say anymore. So let's just go back to spirit animal, and with the addendum of no cultural appropriation intended. No, Aubrey Plaza is fantastic. Just the idea of her being in scenes playing off of Catherine Hahn is very exciting. Like, yeah, sure, let's do it.
A Parks and Rec reunion of sorts.
That's right. They were on that show, as was I. I am in 4 I'm in the universe. They run that show like they have a Bible, and they have like kind of like a map of the town, so that they know if characters go here, like this is the character who works there. And that's how I was brought back a couple times, because I worked at the television station. So 1 degree of separation between me and Aubrey Plaza and Catherine Hahn.
It was Stevenson all along.
It was. Thank you very much. No, I think this show looks like a lot of fun. I like that we're just like going all in on witchcraft. When you mute your mic with the fan on, it's very clear that you muted your mic.
Sorry. I have a dog here that's having a coughing fit, and I didn't think our viewers would appreciate that.
I hear you. Yeah, this is like a lot of fun. I'm sure at some point Elizabeth Olsen's going to show up in this show. Why the hell not? Sure.
Yeah, of course. It just, even if it's a small cameo, like the very end of the show we're about to talk about. Not so.
Booyakasha, yeah.
Booyakasha, baby.
Boy, yoing. Yeah, so that was kind of like we're getting the show fairly soon. It's September, I believe, and it's we're halfway. July is basically over, so we're like a month and a half away from that show. So we'll be talking about that more, obviously, on this show. The big trailer was the Captain America first, a Brave New World trailer, which showed us a lot of stuff. Man, we saw it's detailing it. There's a lot. Watching it, it seems like we didn't get a lot, but I mean, we got Harrison Ford behind glass for some reason. We got Harrison Ford turning into Red Hulk at the end. We don't see him turn it, but he's definitely the Red Hulk at the end. We got Isaiah Bradley. A lot of the stuff was very similar to the description of the stuff that was shown at CinemaCon, which was Isaiah Bradley like stepping forward and trying to kill Harrison Ford. But he's already encased in glass, so maybe there's been like several attempts at the president's life by that time. But yeah, this looks, yeah, sure, let's do it. I'm in.
I really, really like the trailer. I'll just get this right off my chest off the bat. Saw a lot of water, not signed one of Sam Wilson's boat, but I get that the trailer's got to do a lot more table setting than just that.
Well,
kind
I
of
feel
fan
like
service.
that's the kind of thing we got to tease out, you know, like, you know, where I mean, although the Deadpool final Deadpool trailer like just fully confirmed that Lady Deadpool is in the movie, not just like in the movie, but has a mask and a blonde ponytail coming, so it's not visually Taylor Swift or Blake Lively, but I'm sure the voiceover will be. They got to keep that boat. They're gonna keep us. They're gonna make us wait for that thing. That's like the Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire from No Way Home. They're keeping from us that we hope is there. That they're teasing us. He's flying over water. What they did show, which Eric Voss, did you watch the breakdown?
Yeah.
The fact that it pretty much seems like we're rolling with some stuff from the Eternals in this makes me very happy to see that we're finally going to address the fact that there's a giant sentinel in the middle of the frickin' ocean.
Yeah, and it's full of adamantium or something.
That's what EA Voss is positing, is that we got adamantium. Yeah, this seems like a movie that on its face doesn't have like a lot going on, but if you like really look at what's there, including the like, we're gonna have, you know, Tiamat. We could be talking about adamantium. We could be talking about there's gonna be a Red Skull. There's gonna be oh shoot. I mean, I'm assuming we know Bucky's in this movie. We know that Liv Tyler's in this movie. We know that we didn't see the, what is it? It's not Megamind. It's the, what is the
leader.
The leader, but I didn't think we saw him, and then Eric Voss was like, "Oh, there he is right there, and there's he is right there, and there's his green hand, and there's his green head," and it's like, so there's a lot of stuff that we didn't see that we can just get in later. But I think for what we saw, this was yeah, let's go. And we have to point out the fact that Giancarlo Esposito factors heavily into this trailer, and he was only shooting scenes like mere days ago.
I think they literally live streamed him shooting on set in the trailer premiere. I think he's just like literally just dailies.
Yeah, like for those who don't know, Giancarlo Esposito was announced in this film only like, I mean, truly like not like more than like a month and a half ago. It was not that long ago. And it was announced that he was going to be added, like he had not been in previous footage. He is solely being added to the film in reshoots. So the fact that he is in the trailer at least like 3 or 4 times means like, oh, okay, there's a lot of rumors that there was, what were the snake folk, that the what do they call the bad guys?
Hydra?
No, not Hydra. They're like the Scorpion crew or snake bots. I don't know.
Yeah.
They are like a famous people who Sam Wilson's Captain America fights in the comics.
Yeah, I can't remember what I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like that did not test well. So I feel like they have completely removed them from the movie, and I think Giancarlo Esposito is going to be that. But yeah, it's kind of wild that we were just like, those dailies are still hot from the set.
Yeah, I think they're literally an uninterrupted chain of film coming out of the camera and into the projector in the movie theater. He's just like pressing film live.
It's like when in the movie Bruno, the Sacha Baron Cohen movie, there was a joke about Michael Jackson, and then Michael Jackson died, and it seemed in bad taste, and they were like literally cutting it out of the film that had already been delivered to theaters. They were like hand slicing it out of the freaking movie until they could send them a corrected copy. That's what it felt like.
Yeah. Aw, yeah. Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
One more little quick piece of news. I sent you this. Did you watch this trailer for this Netflix show, Terminator Zero?
No, I didn't watch it yet.
I'm only putting it here because we at this show have talked ad nauseum about how we want the Terminator stuff to go away and just stop it and just stop making Terminator content. I got to tell you, this Terminator Netflix, it's an anime show. That's the difference. It's anime. It's Terminator. It looks actually pretty great.
I mean, yeah, using all that like visual pastiche and everything in that world and doing it in that really, that obviously highly stylized anime kind of format. Yeah, absolutely. I just, that to me is at least interesting, but them continuing to try to iterate on what made the first one hooky is not where I'm at.
Well, this is like, I don't know what any of the content. I don't know if we're going to posit some world where like John Connor is the Terminator, like one of the movies recently tried to do. Like, I have no idea what the plot is, but just visually, I was like, yeah, okay, I'll buy it. I don't have to watch. It's not live action. It's anime. It's visually interesting. Sure,
right.
I'm here for it. Check it out. Check that trailer out. I think
I'll give it a look.
Give it a look. You know what else we need to give a look? This is on the fan controlled sports and entertainment Twitch stream. There I think the race is this weekend. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ruthless Cutie. I believe there's a fan controlled race this weekend. I don't know. Just get the control app. There's stuff happening on the fan control side, but we need to give one piece of sports news. That's what we do here. We do one piece of sports news, then we get back to the entertainment. Alex, take us out to the other kind of race. It was last weekend. Thank you. I feel like as I was saying it's this weekend, I was like, I know that's wrong, but I'm just going to wait for Ruthless Cutie to chime in. I know it was last weekend. Thank you very much. We did it. Alex, take us out to the other raceway, open wheel racing.
Open wheel racing. Well, it's the big news is no news at all in that Carlos Sainz, a top driver, still does not have a seat for next season. As seats begin to close off, Haas has announced their full racing lineup, which was one of the prospective places. It seems Mercedes is frozen. It seems Red Bull is frozen, unless Sergio Perez can turn it on and score points this weekend. If he doesn't score points this weekend, he may lose his seat mid-season. And that seems to create a very open slot for Carlos Sainz to slide into. Is he banking on that? We're going to have to wait and see. Back to you, Kenny.
I love it. Is that Haas, like HAAS, like the people who make the dye to color your eggs for Easter?
Yes, same spelling, different. Actually, isn't that Paz that does
maybe it is Paz.
There are 3 companies called Haas. One of them just does racing. One of them creates tools and does racing. And the tool and racing one is completely separate from the other just racing one, I think.
That's too much for me to handle. My news, I kind of teased it already. The BC Lions, my CFL team, currently 5-1. I'm pretty sure that's right. Correct me if I'm wrong, BC Lion. 5-1, just beat the Saskatchewan Roughriders last week, they were the other top team in the West. Because we were both four wins, 4-1 going into the Saskatchewan, who is playing with their backup quarterback Shea Patterson. But BC is just plugging along, and we still have the CFL season is 18 weeks. They play 18 games, so it's a 19-week season. We got a long way to go, but
damn, dude,
it's 5-1. The BC Lions. I like what I'm seeing.
Strong start.
It is a strong start. Who's got a really strong start too? You, whenever you have whatever our sponsor is for the week. And I'm excited to know we've been 2 weeks off. Up the Lions. That's right, BC Lion.
Up the Lions.
I'm excited to know who our corporate sponsor is for the week.
Well, it's actually fan-controlled sports and entertainment with their latest venture. Like you said, we've got fan-controlled racing. Of course, everybody is waiting for the return of fan-controlled football. But the latest in fan-controlled interactive entertainment is coming to you live through the fan-controlled app. It's called fan-controlled fan control. And so what this is...
People might think this is real.
Don't go on the app and look for it because it's not real. But the sponsor this week is fan-controlled fan control. And it's fans in control of other fans, fan-controlled fans, live via the app. And so just to start, user Bike Guy in Huntington is asking Borklord 1980 to set his fan to high and oscillate.
Oh, so it's like that fan.
Yeah, controlling their electronic fans. It's the latest. It's the latest step in interactive entertainment.
I love that. I need a fan in this room. I need someone to fan control my fan control because I have no fan in here.
Well, we're running it all. We're running all of it here through. Well, I'm doing some live call outs too because sometimes people are going to have to. I'm trying to operate the thing too, so I'm going to be reading some different commands for people out there in the app to like control the fans.
I look forward to that. I look forward to see what else comes up. Now we did it. That was a kind of a clean, quick hits. 25. It was about 20-minute quick hits. I'm here for that. I think we can do better next week. We'll see, because we're gonna need a lot of runway for next week to talk about all 4,000 people that are in Deadpool and Wolverine. But that's next week. This week we got to talk about the finale of the Acolyte. That's why I say, do you prefer Acco or Acolyte? It's the finale of Acolyte. I'm gonna read the plot breakdown real quick. A lot happens, but also a lot of questions, but we'll see. The final episode of the season is literally titled The Acolyte. Directed by Hanel Culpepper, written by Jason Milcalef. Sorry. Soul takes May to Brendock and sends their location to the Jedi. Osha has a vision of May and agrees to lead Keimer to her. A mysterious figure watches the pair depart, whose name is Darth Plagueis. Meanwhile, on Coruscant, the Senate grows weary of Jedi secrets and launches an investigation into the Order. In the ruins of the Witch's Fortress, Osha confronts May as Soul and Keimer fight. May disarms Soul but chooses to let him live so he can confess his crimes to the Jedi Council. Soul reveals that May and Osha are the same person, created through the Vergence on Brendock, and admits to killing Anastasia. Osha angrily kills Soul using the Force, corrupting the Kyber crystal in his lightsaber, which turns from blue to red. She and May escape before Venestra arrives with a group of Jedi and finds Soul's body. The sisters reconcile and Osha agrees to train with Keimer. He uses the Force to wipe May's memory. Vernestra blames the murders of Torben, Indara, Kel Naka, and the witches on Soul, despite sensing Keimer's involvement. Keimer was once her apprentice, and she was an amnesiac. She wants an amnesiac's May to help find him. Vernestra reports to a Jedi Master whose name is Yoda. Before I get your reaction to this, I just want to say to all the folks, this was everything I described right there. You could like take Soul and Osha and pop in Luke and Darth Vader. This was and put it on the Emperor's ship. This was Star Wars, baby. However you think Star Wars is to you, this was Star Wars. Alex, what'd you think of the episode?
I'm in full agreement, man. I was just sitting there smiling the whole time. This one had it all. Your big space battles, your big lightsaber duels that are like, I mean, one after another. The lightsaber stuff in this movie has been the best, or this series rather. I really loved how they wrapped it up. I really loved seeing some kind of deeper lore stuff for the first time in live action. Yeah, I was really happy with how this series went and really, really happy with the wrap up. And especially that very final shot really got me.
Yeah, this was definitely like, first of all, like big swings that like this show is not like this show. There are questions that merits another season. Like this is not like this is a show that is definitely saying that this is a season one and I want to make more of these. This is not a one-off. This is not a limited series. Like this is a series that is set up to keep going. A show that will be missing one of its lead characters moving forward. We had said on this show that we didn't think Soul was making it out of this show because, or at least intact. I know you predicted that he was going to go to the dark side, but definitely, you know, he's a Jedi whose emotions overcame him. And yeah, I thought this show was great. I just thought it was like, this is the kind of stuff when you hear that they're going to make more Star Wars. This is the kind of stuff I want them to make. Is it perfect? No, but I think this is pretty great in terms of like what you would, if you were to write down what you'd want to see in a Star Wars show, a lot of it's there. So again, we've said this before on the podcast. If you still have a problem with it, you might want to check to see your levels of misogyny and like how you deal with people of color in starring roles. That might be your real question, because on its face, especially, we literally got like we had the choice between joining the light side and the dark side, and then making the kind of counter choice, but making the choice that is similar to what Anakin Skywalker did, which I still don't think is done very cleanly. But in terms of like what he did, he joined the dark side out of his love for another human being. And that is the same reason why Osha is choosing to now be, you know, an apprentice, or we don't know who the apprentice is at this point when we see, we'll get to Darth Plagueis in a second, but like, you know what I mean? Like this was very much like, has a lot of the pillars of the storytelling in Star Wars, and like sticking to like the power of the rule of two and all that. I mean, this was fantastic stuff. I really enjoyed it.
And I think too, in keeping with, you know, especially how the TV work has panned out, I really appreciate how this continued to add context, and while it also drew from every single facet of Star Wars, you know, to me, it, you know, I am now interested in this whole like narrative thrust they seem to be engaging in, which is, hey, the dark side isn't necessarily bad. You know, it's like, hey, it's bad to deny your emotions. You know, that line from the senator, you know, you seek to control something that's impossible to control. And Vernestra says, we don't seek to control the Force. He says, no, your emotions.
Yeah, that was like, what a killer line that was. And this goes back to like Leslie Headland, in her first initial interviews before this show came out, was talking about how what this show is exploring and what she found fascinating about working in the High Republic era was like, you know, she and specifically choosing to put her show in an area of the High Republic where we don't have a lot of High Republic content yet, which is 100 years, or what it's not, it's 70 something years before. Is that right? It's
basically the middle,
BBY.
The center. Yeah, it's the center point between the peak of the High Republic and the beginning of the prequels.
Yeah, so she wants to explore, because it was talked about that in the High Republic times, the Jedi are seen as these great warriors, like at their highest peak, but that's not where they are at the start of Phantom Menace. They have a lot of power, but they have been kind of, I don't want to say depowered, but the Senate, the government has more, is a larger body of control than the Jedi are. And she was talking about, she wanted to know how we got from High Republic to that point. So that was like the whole point of this show was supposed to, not the whole point, but that was the kind of realm that she wanted, the sandbox she wanted to play in. And that definitely is clear in this episode.
And I'm very interested to see how we get to fully evil Sith, right? Like people that are not just passionate and anti-heroes, but you know, the Emperor is he's evil for evil's sake, right? He just wants to boost himself, and he's not like a Killmonger, right?
Yeah, or like even like Count Dooku, or like, you know, even Anakin to an extent, like somebody who's like has to be tempted. It seems like Sheevan Palpatine, good old Sheevy, like came out of the womb like looking to mess with people.
So do we see through the continuing story of the Acolyte the Jedi's response to the rise of the dark side, pushing these people into the ways of the Sith, like making them, okay, you think we're bad, we'll show you bad, sort of thing?
I have no idea. I still think like there's a lot of people who are still hung up on this like line that, like, you know, giant forehead guy said, Easter Island statue made real.
Key-Eddie Cumberbatch.
Yeah, people are so hung up on, you know, the Sith haven't been around for millennia. So I think this show didn't do anything to change that line. I don't think we destroyed that by any means, because the only person who really heard Kymer say Sith is dead, and that's Soul. So that's preserved. So, but in lore, which is what we saw, is this character of Darth Plagueis. So Darth Plagueis existed before, Kaibar Cumberbatch said that line, and you know what I mean? And that is lore. So I think what we're gonna see is like the Sith operating from a place of like the shadows, like literally Darth Plagueis, does like a little peek from the literal shadows. And that's where they're going to be operating, and maybe that's where they've been operating for years and years. And Palpatine is the first person to be like, "All right, it's time for us to come out of the shadows." Like truly, like.
But I would love to investigate actually when Palpatine how much does the average person in the galaxy know that Palpatine is a Lord of the Sith? How widely known is the lore of the Sith and all that stuff? Like, even after he reveals himself, do people, and this is all far afield of what we're talking about now, but I think that if people get hung up on contradiction, then they need to go back to 1977 and watch Alec Guinness say, "Your father was already a talented star pilot when I met him."
Or even just like, I remember my mother said Princess Leia in Return of the Jedi. Oh, you remember being like seconds old? Like, no.
If basically it's part and parcel of anything that starts with episode 4. You're always going to be coming back and closing loops. You're always going to have to be.
Well said.
Clone Wars, all these things, you're building the boat as you're going and then also drawing the map.
You're building Sam Wilson's shrimping boat as you're going, yes.
Yeah, don't get me started. But, I think that people need to just ease off and focus on because I've said it before, I delighted in how much this show felt like a television show. It didn't feel like an idea for a movie that they extruded.
They didn't seem like they were drawing
TV in a delightful way.
There was definitely like an 8-episode plan. It was intentional to make episodes 3 and 7 or 4 and 7, whichever the flashback. Yeah, 3 and 7. That was intentional. We saw what really happened. We saw that was like a Rosh. She had said that there was a Rashomon element to this show, and then we literally got it by episode 7 when people were like, "When is that Rashomon thing happening?" And then it happened.
And then, and then I said, I actually got rid of my Rashomon with a topical cream.
That's what you got to do. You got to get a topical cream or like an ointment, or sometimes you got to take a pill to get rid of your Rashomon.
Yeah, well, sometimes a pill is quicker. I just definitely a tincture or a salve, some kind of.
I love a salve. I love a salve. I love that salve is a salve. Salve is a word that's spelled SALVE, so it really should be pronounced like salve.
What about it? What if it was salve?
Salve. I love everything we're saying right now. It's all good stuff.
Incredible.
We need to give a quick primer. So we've mentioned Darth Plagueis a few times. So Darth Plagueis it was mentioned in like actual canon in Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
In which, in that really weird scene where Palpatine and Anakin are watching what can only be described as like a floating water display. That's supposed to be a show, I guess. Whether it's
Mon Calamari water ballet.
Is that what it is?
Those are all Akbar people floating around in the.
And they're going and it's doing like Tongan throat music to it all.
And George Lucas is there dressed as an alien admiral. He looks very sharp with his little cane and his hat.
Fantastic. But he talks about do you know the story of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis? And he tells this story about what Darth Plagueis was able to reanimate human life or whatever, use the Force
use the Force to manipulate life or something.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things that's how Palpatine is able to kind of tempt Anakin with the dark side, because you can bring your wife back to life who you think is dead, and that's how you do it. So Darth Plagueis was also Palpatine's master. Palpatine, and this is not like a fish. This is Legends canon, right? Or is this official canon? I think this is official canon. That Darth Plagueis is his. That Palpatine is Darth Plagueis's apprentice, and then like all Sith Lords, they are usually killed by their apprentice because there's a rule of 2, and then they need to. So Palpatine kills Plagueis at some point, and that's when he takes on Darth Maul or something. We don't know the full, but that's what we know. So
And I think that was explored further in Legends, but I don't think anything beyond the apprentice relationship and that Palpatine killed Plagueis are actual canon at this point.
Yeah, so we don't. So that's why him showing up. I mean, I don't think it officially was said. I think it says like hooded figure peers around the corner in like the audio description. It doesn't say Darth Plagueis, but I feel like it's pretty much is Darth Plagueis.
If it walks like a Plagueis and quacks like a Plagueis, it's a Plagueis, baby.
It's a Plagueis. But well done, BC Lions. Salve Regina, fantastic.
This is a family
Canadian,
show.
That's a proper Canadian answer there.
We're not allowed to talk like that on this show. It's a family broadcast.
Absolutely. It's unclear whether like where Darth Plagueis is at this point. I think that was something that Eric Voss pointed out. Whether it's like whether Kymer knows that he's even there. Is he following Kymer? Is he needing an apprentice? Is Kymer going to be an apprentice? Well, we have no idea where. I think Eric Voss did officially say that at this point Palpatine is not alive. I think Leslie Headland even said that too. So we don't know where Plagueis is during his journey, but we saw him, and that was like a thing it's never been seen in live action, but it's canon. So there you go.
Speaking of things not seen in live action, I haven't gotten a chance to look at the show notes, but how about the bleeding of the Kyber crystal?
It's not in the show notes, but it is kind of in the show notes. Yeah, that's something that's only ever happened. When did that happen? What context did that happen in the? Maybe
in a comic book, like in a Darth Vader comic book or something.
Yeah,
definitely not in live action ever.
No. So what happened is like Osha, out of her rage, force chokes Soul after finding out that Soul killed his mother, which he most definitely did. There's no way around that.
Yeah.
But, she force chokes him, and because she let her hate and anger overtake, those are the paths to the dark side. And she picked up his lightsaber, and that Kyber crystal turned from blue to red literally when she lighted it up, and that was freaking awesome.
I like, that's a bit of, well, not a retcon officially, but in the Legends canon, it was said that all the Sith and the dark side users had red crystals because they were synthetic, and that was it was a quicker way to get a weapon, so you went for a synthetic Kyber crystal. But I do love this idea that they keep building in that the Kyber crystal is actually kind of part of the will of the Force, that the Jedi is sort of there's a interplay with the crystal, and that would also hold true for the Sith, and it would be like, oh yeah, we did this bad thing.
Yeah, man, this was kind of it was great, man. It just because really you mentioned that I think the one thing this show is missing in terms of Star Wars is like a space battle. We had an unbelievable chase through the rocky rings of a planet. That was some really unbelievable. That was the stuff that if you were to say was cinematic about, that was definitely a cinematic. Watching that on the big screen would have been kind of killer.
That was really, really cool. I really loved that. That felt so super Star Wars to me.
Oh, totally. But we didn't have big giant ship and fighting and shooting at each other while there's something happening down on the planet below. But this show really leaned into the lightsaber battles. And again, we got another just really awesome one. I don't know. This is why the show isn't. I want to see more of this show. Is really. I mean, again, we've mentioned it before, but Manny Jacinto is really just did a lot. Not all of it, but did a lot of the stunt work on this show, which is wanted to and did a lot of the work. It's just super impressive stuff from him. So, but I don't know where Darth Plagueis is in his journey, but Kymer is pretty bad A in this, I would say.
I don't know if there's any, because I think that in Legends they've established a lineage from even before Plagueis, who his master was.
Yeah, there is. It is. I forget what it is. Darth something. Eric Voss was talking about it. And
I know, again, kind of extruding out from where we wind up in this finale, if Plagueis's long time hold at the top of the Sith is the reason why it's stagnant, and that Palpatine is really the key, and these events really push things forward so that Palpatine can really execute this final Sith takeover. I mean, eventually.
Whatever you want to do it. Like, to me, again, I go back to like holding on to this one sacred line from Phantom Menace. Like, the Clone Wars gave us characters like Asajj Ventress, and it's like, yeah, maybe a Sith apprentice is also taking an apprentice because they're all dubious people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why would somebody who is literally joining something to be like the antithesis to the Jedi be like, well, I can't take an apprentice. I'm a Padawan. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they would do whatever the hell they want. So who's to say that like Manny Jacinto isn't running parallel to Darth Plagueis, or becomes Darth Plagueis' teacher, or Darth Plagueis is like becomes his master for like, and then he dies and then gets Palpatine. Who knows? None of that's written. So like, stop basing it all on one thing that a giant forehead man said next to Yoda.
Ki-Adi-Mundi does have a binary brain up in that skull. He's got two brains.
So he's like the leader. I mean, two brains. So I mentioned him. We did see Yoda at the end of this bad boy.
Yeah, we did. And it was they just had him out there on a stick. He was kind of shaky. Yeah. It was really weird.
He may not have even had a face. It could have just been the back of his head and then just like a bunch of like robot mouth stuff in there. But yeah, for those of you who don't know, do the math on this one. Yoda is 900 something years old in Return of the Jedi. And this is like 100 plus years. So guess what? He's like 800. He's very much still alive.
He's 750 to 800 years old.
Yeah, and yeah, so he probably has gray hair. So that's probably going to look a lot like Yoda does in the rest of the movies, and it's great. And I don't know how much Yoda we're going to get in season 2, but there's Yoda. Here we go.
I'm glad. You know, they really held off on the interconnectedness in terms of like cameos and stuff. They used what is at their disposal in the Star Wars universe, including Wookiees, a little Ki-Adi-Mundi in there, and lightsabers, all that stuff. But and necessarily so, because there's not a whole ton of characters around at this time. But some big characters are, and the way that they were just sort of, it seemed confident in what they had to deliver, that they didn't need to rely on big cameos.
Yep, we'll just put it in at the end. Here's a little stinger of Yoda. They use Vernestra Rwoh, who's one of the only High Republic characters who could also be alive, which, by the way, she did Soul dirty. She really did that. She really did him dirty.
I'm waiting to see how that shakes out. Yeah, I'd love to see how that shakes out.
But that solves your Ki-Adi-Mundi thing as well, because Vernestra Rwoh blamed it all on Soul. So of course they don't know who the Sith are or any sort of dark side force, because she doesn't mention the witches. She doesn't mention anything. She doesn't mention May or being alive, and none of that's known. So that was all done. So everybody who like lost their minds and like went and decided to do what you shouldn't do and go on social media and get in like massive fights with weirdos, like maybe you should wait until all the information's out there, bro.
Yeah, you know, it's I think that really it's the creator's fault for not having the characters literally turn to the camera and go, now me and her and you watching at home are the only ones that know about this. And then when Soul dies, Vernestra Rwoh goes, I'm the only one that knows about this. The guy who says it in 100 years, he doesn't know about this.
He doesn't know. I've closed the loop. This closed the loop. Thank you for watching.
And if there's any little reference, she just keeps turning to camera and going,
wait and see.
And then people can relax. Or they go, I don't know, I felt like this one led us around by the hand a little bit.
Oh, yeah, yeah. There's definitely the people who would be like, you know what, I did appreciate the fact that they kept the lore, but God, they were so heavy-handed with it. It's like, you know what, there's a certain point where there's nothing you can do that's going to make people happy. And, you know, that's it.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, whatever. What are your thoughts about the show in general? Like, overall thoughts? This is like an 8-episode Star Wars show. I don't want to necessarily like rank it, but like, you know, where do you think this fits into like the Star Wars content we got?
I think it's right up there with the best of the Star Wars TV that we've gotten. I mean, it's not, I don't think Andor level of just, you know,
Nothing
completely just a brilliant television show, but I think it is Mandalorian level. You know, I think that we talked about Obi-Wan suffering from the movie problem. And I think there's been a couple of, you know, on the Marvel and the DC and the Star Wars side, both. But this just in its conception feels so confidently, even just like not even narratively, the feel of how it looks on my TV feels like how TV has felt to me my whole life. And I don't know how to explain it other than that.
No, I know. I just want to point out that BC Lions is quoting some Shakespeare. The fool doth think he is wise, but the wise man knows himself to be a fool. And I'm assuming he said Shakespeare is calling. I'm assuming he has to go teach Shakespeare, which is ironic because I have to go watch my daughter perform Shakespeare in like an hour.
Well,
So-
the bard beeth but once, you know?
I was going to piggyback on what you were saying about TV. Yeah, the fact that you hire a legitimate showrunner who has created television shows like Russian Doll, like I forget the other show she's created, but she's a television creator. You didn't hire a film guy to come in and make a TV show, which I mean worked in the case of Jon Favreau, but like
Yeah.
that's not always going to be a slam dunk. But Jon Favreau was also helped along by Dave Filoni, and then when Dave Filoni wasn't on set, we had the like, hey, should I give her the Darksaber? Yeah, sure. Okay, here it is. It's yours now. Like that's like we have that happen. You know what I mean?
We need our goaltenders and goalkeepers and referees.
Like,
we certainly do,
which-
because people get silly.
Like that was a thing that happened where it was like, oh no, but you grabbed it for a second while I was struggling, and so that means you have it. So you have it. Go ahead, Darksaber.
You're just
Where
being
Dave Filoni
silly.
probably would have been like, actually, they have to fight, John. Like you can't just like, there has to be a fight.
They're
Anyway.
just being silly.
No, I thought this was really great, and I feel like there was a lot of literature about is it doing this or is it? I feel like you people are trying to read into it too much. This thing did not have to do anything because it existed in a time that is wholly independent from everything that's been done in Star Wars. It can do whatever the hell it wants. And even if people still found a problem with it because they truly just don't like seeing women and people of color that don't look like them, that aren't it's basically white dudes who can't handle non-white dudes in their Star Wars, but it's just going to happen because the world's different, and get over it. Like 1977 was a truly misogynist place, and if you want to go live there, I mean, we might be careening towards there in November, but currently speaking, that's not going to be happening in your content.
1977 would be kind of a lucky break if we landed there. People want to take it back to the god dang medieval times.
Medieval times. Before I get too depressed, let's talk about winners and losers. Who's your big winner of the act? Let's say of this episode and maybe of the whole show in general.
I'll say that's the same answer. Actually, it's a tie. It's a tie for first for two people. It's Soul and Keimer. Those two. Manny Jacinto. I don't know Soul's performer's name, but those
Lee say I'm gonna look at it right now. It's Lee something.
like
Just keep
continually impressed with both of their performances. The dimension they brought,
Lee Jung Jae.
and especially Manny Jacinto. Really leaning on a certain skill set he has, and indeed what maybe viewers are used to seeing him as, and then completely flipping the script. And then yes, Soul is such a, I just kept saying it, that slowness that he felt he needed to use to approach this unfamiliar language wound up being such a powerful performance tool in his physicality and how he just everything about him, his presence. What a screen marvel that guy is. So those are both my big winners.
I agree with those wholeheartedly. I'm going to give a different one just to give a different one. It's very hot. Just to give a different one, I'm going to give it to Amanda Stenberg. She played Osha and May.
Oh yeah, she was terrific, man.
I just want to point out this performance too because, they're playing twins and playing like literally chromosomally the same person but in two different emotional places. Like the whole time, like just gave two fully nuanced performances that when you were looking at somebody, who it was, whether it was May or Osha. I will say her choices when she got her mind wiped were a little suspect, but I'm not. that's 0.09% of her performance when she was choosing to be like May and be like, I go where? I'm like, oh boy, you could have a little bit more here, but that's like 0.5% of the performance. The rest of it was pretty fantastic. Losers.
I mean, you gotta. We had plenty of shots, plenty of opportunities. The whole season went by. Sam Wilson's fishing boat didn't peak up nary a bow or a smokestack, and
Nope.
the only thing, we mentioned it earlier, the only thing that we've got going for us is that we've got 2 projects in which it's pretty sure to pop up coming in the next couple of weeks. And maybe that's the only reason that Kevin and Kathleen got together and said, not in this one.
I feel like I'm not going to jinx it because, what we're going to be talking about next week is just going to have, there's just so many rumors. They just literally showed, did you see the final trailer that came out today?
No, I can't keep up.
Well, they literally revealed one of their two people in that trailer that we have not seen yet, but we probably were pretty sure was in the movie. So
I heard one who's also in Acolyte, right?
Yes, that one. And then also a man who was in X-Men who was also in Star Wars. So
who's that?
Little guy who played Darth Maul.
Oh, Ray Park. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not 100% sure it's him, but there's a guy in the back of a truck, like sticking his tongue out very far, like a toad. So,
the Toad Man. The Toad Man.
I'm pretty sure that's him. But yeah, I don't want to get my hopes up about that damn boat, but we'll see. I mean,
what are we gonna do, man? What are we supposed to do?
I forgot to ask if this is Star Trek or Star Wars.
Oh, this is Star Wars, baby. They are really drilling down. They are getting it, and they're getting it. This is Star Wars, baby.
Star Wars. We had Darth Plagueis from the story from Sheevan Palpatine's mouth to our eyeballs. I mean, this is Star Wars at its core. End of story. If you don't think it is, maybe you need to readjust your childhood or whatever you think your idea of your childhood was. Anyway, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Let's talk more about the fan-controlled fan control, right?
Fan-controlled fan control. We do have a couple more updates from that. Of course, it is fans controlling the fans of other fans through the fan-controlled app. User Baking Derek 8642 wants Quackers in Quebec to set his fan to low, no oscillation. What does Kirk Fox say is asking username 7763091 to please turn his fan off. And then Spotty Scotty wants Ezra from Rebels but Puerto Rican to set his fan to high and reverse, please.
Ezra from Rebels but Puerto Rican. I love that we got a big Kirk Fox fan on there.
What does Kirk Fox say? Yeah.
Also from Parks and Rec. That's the circle, baby. Yeah, it's 1
and
degree.
Community.
And it's all there. I've also literally done shows with him, so
Me too. He was on jury duty with me.
That's right.
I looked over. He's in the jury box, and I'm like, "Oh, we're gonna screw it up for sure." We're wearing literally the exact same thing. Also, this guy doesn't recognize Kirk Fox.
That's when I remember when Kirk Fox walked out. I was like, "Come on, bro!" Like,
yeah.
First of all, why are you casting like well-known touring comic Kirk Fox, who's been on every other show on your show for starters?
Yeah.
But the fact that the guy didn't get him, I'm like, all right, sure. Like,
it's like, was Wallace Shawn not available? What are you doing?
Was character actor Bruce Davidson not available?
Yeah. Stephen Tobolowsky wasn't returning your calls, huh? Okay.
Oh, fantastic. All right, you know what time it is now?
Oh, I love it, baby.
Oh, sorry.
I'll tell you, I have not had a good weekend since we last broadcast without hearing that thing to get me going through the afternoon.
Truly. All right, Alex, are you ready? It's my game.
Let's do it.
All right, so as we've teased a lot on this show, Deadpool and Wolverine is coming out next week, and it is a movie that is going to be chock full of X-Men. This is not a spoiler to say this, there is going to be a lot of X-Men in this movie. Whether they're going to stay in the MCU after being in the movie, we'll see what we're going to tell. That's why this week we are going to play the literal BuzzFeed game, Which X-Men Are You? Which mutant from X-Men are you? All right, so you're going to answer these.
I love this. Yeah.
You're going to answer these questions, and then we're going to tell you which X-Men mutant you are. All right, you ready?
Let's do it.
Number 1, what's your favorite film genre? Sci-fi, action, horror, comedy, rom-com, fantasy, crime, or drama?
Comedy.
Okay. Let's see. What's your greatest fear? Spiders, snakes, heights, flying, needles, failure, crowds, or the Pinocchio ride at Disneyland?
Ooh, flying.
Okay. What could you not live without? TV, my phone, social media, internet, music, cake, alcohol, or always having the free will to make the choice to not ride the Pinocchio ride at Disneyland?
I'm going to say the internet amongst those.
Okay. All right. Choose one word to describe yourself. Funny, brave, creative, honest, flexible, reliable, sociable, or ambitious?
Funny.
Okay. Pick a TV show you would want to star in. Game of Thrones, Lucifer, Stranger Things, Riverdale, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Friends, Jane the Virgin, or one that shoots in Australia, because that feels like even though I'm an LA 5, I'm definitely in Australia minus 45, but at least I'm far away from the nightmare factory that is the Pinocchio ride.
I'm going to say Friends.
Okay. All right. What's your favorite color? Let's see. Red, blue, yellow, pink, black, white, teal, or cyan?
Black.
Okay. Where would you like to live? Paris, London, Los Angeles, New York, Rome, Tokyo, Berlin, or South Africa? Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. It's not South Africa. It's Rome, Tokyo, Berlin, or I don't know. Can't laugh before the joke, Jimmy Fallon. It's not South Africa, Rome, Tokyo, Berlin, or I don't know, up your butt. You keep asking me these questions like I'm interested when you know goddamn well every second that I talk to you is one more second where someone could trick me into going to the Pinocchio ride at Disneyland. I can tell by the look on your face you think I'm losing my mind, but the moment you let up is the moment you find yourself in Fantasyland getting face jacked by a, I don't know, 75-foot Jack-in-the-Box head that is staring and laughing at you on this ride for children.
Yeah.
So where would you want to live?
I'm a homebody. I'm going to say LA.
Okay. And let's see. This might be the last one. Pick your favorite drink. Gin and tonic, cider, coffee, tea, margarita, wine, soda, or juice. Soda or juice.
I'm gonna say in that list, I'm going to say cider.
Okay, let's see who you are. You're Wolverine. Look at you.
Woo! Snicks. Yeah. I'm going to need those claws next time I go on the Pinocchio ride at Disneyland, baby.
the stuff of nightmares. All right, that was which X-Men character are you? We have to do the Hoopla recommendations, which I just remembered is something that we do on the show and I have to do as well. Hoopla, of course, is where you can put in your library card, and on the app or on your iPad or your phone or on your computer, you can read a ton of like digital comics, digital manga. Alex, what's your recommendation?
I was suggested something through the app. I believe it is called Nick Fury, Agent of Nothing.
Ooh.
Part of, Secret Warriors, Volume 1, Nick Fury, Agent of Nothing. And there's a little bit of it that feels like, what if like the 15 toughest dudes from World War II were still in fighting shape and came back today and were like, wait, there's too much fascism around. Feels a little bit like that.
That feels like very close to home. I am going to recommend. I'm a little bit not ready for this, but I'm going to recommend. Just continue to recommend Attack on Titan as the manga. I know you have to read it backwards, Alex, which means you'll never read it. It's just it's a wonderfully cool story about giant weirdo-looking dudes who look like they just got out of a Megadeth concert but don't have any genitalia, and they're giant and they eat you, and that's what happens when you're human beings trying to survive that. It sounds insane, but it's actually like a lot of manga and a lot of anime. It works, baby.
None of the people at a Megadeth concert have genitals either.
That's true. Alex, do we have a final read from the Fan Control?
Yeah, again, these are some commands from different users that they want their fan controlled users to set their fan to. We've got Peak Physique for you. That's the number 4 in the letter U, asking Downtown Bozo the Clown to set his fan to high and oscillate. Aquaman's stepdad wants a new user match. We'll get right on that. And then whoever is back at HQ, painstakingly hand fanning Ruthless Cutie. You keep at it. She's important.
She is important. That's what I'm liking. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first one? What was the first one's name?
Peak Physique, the number 4, the letter U, is asking Downtown Bozo the Clown to set his fan to high and oscillate.
That's what I wanted to hear. Downtown Bozo the Clown. That sounds like, I think like that Downtown Bozo the Clown is definitely down to clown. Alex,
Jim Tan Laundry.
What did your dogs think of the season finale of Acolyte?
Well, Millie has been bothering me for a kind of a lightsaber that splits in half like Keimer has. And I was like, Millie, you don't have thumbs. And she said, and I quote, "You let me worry about the thumbs, clown boy." So,
Millie's down to clown too.
Yeah.
Mabel was in the room with me asleep, like dead asleep, but she was in the room. So that's something. I'm realizing now that it must be either she likes it but just can't pay attention to it, or she's just so dead asleep that she doesn't even know what's going on. But either way, I'll take it. Good.
Yeah, it's good to have companionship.
It is good companion. We did it. That's another show in the books. And look at that, only an hour 7. That's a little tighter for us. The Bard is a call you. Thanks. Yeah, the Bard is calling, BC Lion. It is for sure. Alex, where can the folks find you?
You can find me all over the internet, Duke_Midnight, Dr_Alex on Threads and Instagram or whatever. Just go out there and wherever major magazines are sold. I keep forgetting to say that.
And no more. Your show run is over.
Show run is done. We are the best to ever perform. That's what everybody said. Don't research it. And yeah, thank you. Up the Duke, baby.
Yes, I love it. You can find me at Kenny G. Stevenson at TikTok and Twitch. Kenny G. Oh my God, Donut King. Yeah, right. Kenny G. Donut King at Threads and Instagram. If you are in the Los Angeles area, you can see me tonight at the Impro Theater at 9:30 doing a show called Process. It is a show where we get a bunch of fake play titles, and then we proceed to improvise auditions, table read, and then we cut forward to 2 months into rehearsals. We take a 10-minute intermission, and then we show you the final act of this completely made-up play, and it's all fully improvised, and that's happening tonight at the Impro Theater at 9:30. It's also happening August 23rd at 8 p.m. at the Elysian Theater, and then 2 more dates in September. Here we go.
And I am on LinkedIn, but you'll never find me because I'm I'm under a different name, an assumed identity.
Okay. Mike Atreides. Then let's.
Yeah. Bobby Raikkonen or Harkonnen. Bobby Harkonnen.
Bobby Harkonnen. Bob Routha.
Yeah, Frank Routha.
All right. On that note, we're going to get out of here. Bye, everybody.
Big ups all you.
Big ups to all you.